For those of you who are new or who have never seen my face before, my name is Renee Morris. I'm a certified quantum touch practitioner, quantum touch instructor, quantum touch ambassador, and I work for the head office. So you will see my face a little bit all over quantum touch, and I'm thrilled to be your host today. We have a phenomenal event planned for you. Joining me today are experts, quantum touch experts, Rick and Paula de Govia, who, if you are not familiar with them already, they have an extraordinary story that brought them to quantum touch from the corporate world into the world of healing. And so quite a transition from stressful, fast-paced, linear thinking world into the world of natural healing, of energy healing, of wellness. And they are based out of Florida. They're a husband and wife couple, and they teach levels 1 and levels 4. They're also trained in other modalities that they offer in collaboration with Quantum Touch in their healing practice in Florida. So I'm thrilled to welcome them here today. Welcome, Rick and Paula.
Thank you. And thank you everybody for joining. It's going to be a beautiful hour. And by the way, Renee, just wanted to tell you, you have a beautiful face, so we don't mind seeing it plastered all over the place.
Oh, that's thank you so much. I'm happy to hear that. You know, it's quite an experience to go in front of a camera where there's, you know, maybe 100 people, 50 people, 100 people. And it's something that takes some getting used to, but I've done it a number of times now. So I feel comfortable, and everybody's always so very gracious, which is wonderful. So welcome to you all. I will just preview our journey today really quickly. So today's topic is quantum touch, the missing life skill that nobody ever taught you. And what we're going to learn about today is what exactly is quantum touch. So many of you are have just heard about quantum touch, maybe haven't yet taken a workshop, and you're wondering, what is this thing that we're talking about? How does it work? How do you do it? And you want to know in terms that you can understand. So Rick and Paul are going to talk about that today. Then we will talk about how quantum touch goes from a little technique that you can practice on yourself, on your pets, on your loved ones, to becoming essentially a way of life, a lifestyle, a way that you can approach any issue, any problem, any tension that you have in your life. It will literally become part of who you are. And I myself am a living testament to that. Without quantum touch in my life, I know that I would not be nearly as resourceful, as hopeful, as creative, and as empowered of a person. And so once we move through that, then Rick and Paula will give you a guided experience, because everybody wants to feel the energy. Everybody wants to have an experience. We can talk as much as we want about it, but there's nothing like experiencing it for yourself. And then at the end, nearing the end of the hour, we will open up the floor to questions from our beautiful audience. So any burning questions that you have about quantum touch, about energy healing, Rick and Paula will be happy to answer them at that time. And so I think everybody, let me just make sure that everybody is joined in. And wonderful. As I mentioned, Rick and Paula are certified quantum touch instructors. They teach levels 1 and level 4. They do have an upcoming workshop that we'll talk a little bit more about the end. So for those of you who just have that knowing, which is very common in quantum touch, people find out about it and they might not even know much about it, but they just know that it's something they want to learn. So if that's you, if you have that knowing, then I'll let you know a little bit later in the webinar how you can take a workshop from Rick and Paula. And great, I think everybody is added in. So I'm very excited to get started today. And if you have any questions as we go along, you can post them in the chat and I'll try to include them. And if not during the webinar, then at the end during the Q&A period. So I think we're good to get started. So Rick and Paula, welcome again. Tell us in terms that anybody could understand, in simple terms, what is quantum touch and how does it work?
Well, first of all, welcome everybody. We've been with Quantum Touch for over 20 years. And it has been a fabulous journey. Every year brings more and more miracles that we enjoy completely. And I want to make this sound as simple as possible, because we're talking about quantum physics, the quantum field, but really, to be honest with you, everybody can understand this. Anybody can understand this. We have students that are very old. We have students that are very, very, very young. And it's once you get the grasp of it, it's something that you can use in your own life every single day, which is what Paul and I do all the time. So let's talk about quantum touch. So quantum touch is an energy modality that uses, or a healing modality that uses breath work and meditation techniques or visualization techniques to facilitate a healing. So at its foundational core, it uses a premise called life force energy. Life force energy is what Richard Gordon refers to as the current of life, the animating current of life. And it is what practitioners learn to focus on, amplify, and direct using breath work, using body work, attention, and intention. Life force energy has been used by all the cultures of the world for thousands of years to facilitate healing. As a matter of fact, the last I checked, it had over 70 known names, all referring to life force energy, like prana, mana, baruch, ki, chi, etc., etc., etc. So it's something that has been used. It's something that is known. It's not foo-foo. It's a beautiful modality. So how do we use quantum touch? Well, we amplify this life force energy. Let me backtrack a second. Let's even look at it as the electricity that keeps the lights on in your cells, in your organs, and in your systems. Okay, so what we do, because it's in us, it's in everything that is alive, in plants and humans, insects, everything. So what we do is we amplify it, we increase the frequency, and then what we do is we hold a high vibration over whatever tissue or person or whatever it is that we want to give this life force energy to. And we allow premises or concepts known as resonance and entrainment to automatically have the person that is looking for the healing align themselves with this healing. And when they do, that's when you have a healing. It's very simple. It might sound complicated, but it's really very simple.
So basically, we're teaching people how to use breathing, body awareness, intention, and focus, and to become more aware of and work with this energy. And so we are not the healers, we're the facilitators, and we learn how to create and hold a strong field of this life force energy. And the recipient's own body is what heals itself. By raising that high frequency, their body's entrained to a higher frequency, and their body's own natural intelligence will do the healing. We have this our own innate intelligence, and that's what does the healing.
Yeah, and it's also important to understand that we're not trying to force anything.
Right.
This is a natural process that unfolds as your body matches up with the life force energy that the practitioner is sending out. It's a very natural process, and it works really, really well.
Beautiful. Thank you, Rick and Paula. That's a great explanation. I love the analogy with the current of electricity that keeps the lights on, because I feel that when I practice quantum touch, even if I just do a session on myself, if I'm feeling a little bit tired, I need a little extra boost, then I'll do the quantum touch on myself, and it really feels like I've turned on the light switches in my body, and suddenly I have have a flow, inflow of energy that can help with all the functions of my body, not just give me energy, but help my body to heal itself. And it's really an extraordinary process. So tell us a little bit, Rick and Paula, you've done many, you have years of experience in quantum touch. So can you give some examples of what types of healings that you've seen, whether it's, something related to a physical condition, emotional, give us some examples of the types of healings that you've seen using quantum touch on another person to help them to heal themselves.
Okay, so well, first of all, we want to understand that, as human beings, we have different levels, right? We have the emotional, mental, and spiritual level over the physical level, right? So at any point in time, we may have issues with any of those levels. So quantum touch actually helps us to heal in different ways. And we've seen everything. We've seen physical issues reverse, go away. We've seen emotional issues melt away, okay? Mental issues and spiritual issues. So it's quantum touch, or the energy that is used in quantum touch, is ubiquitous, and it works in a very, very profound way throughout the different levels of the human being.
So to give you some examples, I'll talk about a distance healing session that I did recently. And I get contracted from people from all over the world. This particular one happened to be in India, and I was contracted by the daughter. And she said, my father is having a lot of issues with PTSD from his childhood, and it's making him very angry. It's making him very difficult for him to move forward. And it's affecting him in all aspects of his life. He's having difficulty with his movement, his legs. He's exhausted all the time. He's having these recurring nightmares over and over again. So she asked if I would work on him, which I'm happy to do. Now, mind you, I've never seen him, never spoken to him. Everything has been done over the internet, where they're typing, what's going on with him. She's telling me what he's experiencing, and I'm typing back telling my experience. And basically, he when I first started working on him, he had a lot of emotional pain, a lot of trauma, a lot of anger, and a lot of thought patterns that were affecting him. So we started working on that. I started working on the physical body as well. And through the sessions that we had been doing together, he started to become happier. He started to become lighter. He started to be able to have more energy. He started to feel better about his life. He wasn't no longer arguing with his wife and his daughter, and making the whole atmosphere in his home lighter. But then he would also revert back sometimes to the old thoughts and the old ways of thinking, and then that would affect their lives again. So it was very interesting, because as we continued to work together, and I think I've done about 10 sessions with this gentleman, we worked on forgiveness, not for forgiving someone else, but forgiveness as a gift to himself. And we created a visualization where he could go back to that painful childhood experience and imagine the outcome he wished that he could have experienced, so that we could help him not just to remember what happened to him when he was a child, but to not have the emotional attachment associated with it any longer. And something beautiful began to happen. He became much more energetic. His energy started to shift, and he started to look at life in a different way. His family noticed improvements in his mood. He became much happier. He started doing more things around the house. And then when the old him creeped back in, he would say, "That's the old me. I don't have to live there anymore." And that's what quantum touch began to mean for him. And it was simply not just something that we did, but something that he did for himself. And it's been probably about 2 weeks now that I haven't done a session on him, and I've been checking in to see how he's doing. He's so happy. He's so joyful. His wife is so happy. His daughter is so happy. And it's so important to understand that, what if your past could become a memory instead of a place that you visit all the time? And this is something that I see a lot when I work with clients, where they're constantly revisiting the past, and it's stopping them from moving forward into their present and future. So this shift has been a huge transition for him, and he no longer has those dreams and the PTSD associated with it. He now realizes that he has a lot more control over what happens in his life. So that was a pretty beautiful.
And this is an example of emotional/mental.
As well as physical too, because he was having issues walking.
Yeah, but as I said, mostly people are looking for the physical aspect, not understanding that there is also that emotional, mental, and spiritual aspect associated with why you're being held back.
Yes.
Right. And so yeah, it's the quantum touch works in all different ways. It's a beautiful thing.
That's a great point, Rick. And can you share an example of where you worked with a client for a physical ailment, whether it be pain or headaches or any other type of physical issue, and where the person experienced a self-healing?
There are many. Okay, so one of them, for example, make it as quick as possible. But this gentleman worked for the city of Miami. He was a plumber. He climbed up on a ladder, fell. He knocked his head on an air conditioner. He went out for 6 months. He was in a coma. Woke up. Half his body, his right side of the body, wasn't working anymore. The interesting thing is that, they did all kinds of rehab on him. It wasn't working. So his wife, he decided to introduce the quantum touch idea. He did not believe in it at all. Okay, so this is very interesting, right? Because he didn't believe in it. So she met me. She asked me to work, and I did. I started working with him, and from the first session, goes all the way back to my early days in quantum touch. Started working on him. He started screaming at the top of his lungs in pain. And, I was kind of taken aback. His wife and his daughter were crying. He was screaming at the top of his lungs. And this went on, and I was chasing the pain, because the pain now, it was going from, one part of the body to the other. And throughout the whole session, I was chasing the pain. Finally, after 45 minutes, he calmed down. We finished off. And I asked him to get up or to help him up, because he couldn't move. So
he was in a wheelchair.
He was in a wheelchair. I forgot to say that. Yeah. And I moved him onto a recliner. And then at the end of the session, I was moving him off of the recliner, and he goes, "Something happened. Something happened. Hold on." And so he slowly stood up by himself and sat down on the wheelchair. And that was the last time he used a wheelchair. I worked on this gentleman for a whole year. And little by little, he regained all of the things that he had lost. The ability to wash dishes, the ability to grab shampoo. And he would call me. "I was able to get the shampoo off of the shower." So he did so well. His wife, his daughter, they all took the course. They became practitioners, and that was really a phenomenal example of.
So this gentleman went from not being able to use his entire right side. He wasn't able to walk. He was in a wheelchair. Went from a wheelchair to a walker, from a walker to a cane, and then walking on his own.
He was able to start riding his bike again. He was able to start up a photography hobby. So yeah, very, very, very interesting things.
Quantum touch gave him his life back.
But we have so many of these stories, so many, over 20 years. You have to think how many stories we have.
That is amazing. Now, Rick and Paula, you are both, professionals in this world. You have many years of experience. A lot of the people who are present today are not necessarily looking to have a wellness business, become wellness practitioners, but is quantum touch something that they can learn in the level one workshop, apply it, to their loved ones and see extraordinary results? Or do you have to be a healing practitioner, a professional, or somebody with many years of experience or special gifts? Can anybody do this?
Great question. And the story that Rick just told was in the very beginning stages of his quantum touch career. So I would say you were probably doing quantum touch for maybe a couple of months when that happened. So when you trust the energy, magical things start to happen. And it doesn't matter how old you are, as Rick was saying earlier. We've taught quantum touch to children. It's very natural for children. The adults have a tendency to get too much inside their head. Am I doing it right? Am I doing it perfect? You have to understand that everything is energy, and energy is all around us. And it's at first, when someone's learning quantum touch, it's something you do. You practice the breathing, you practice the different techniques, you work on yourself, you work on others, and then it becomes something you know how to do. And eventually it becomes something that you live, which is where Rick and I are. You begin to notice energy everywhere. You notice the energy you bring into a conversation. You notice the energy within the conversation. You notice how you respond when you're frustrated. You notice what happens inside you when you're afraid. You become much more aware of where you're operating from. Are you operating from a place of love and possibility, or are you operating from a place of fear and limitation? And that awareness begins to change how you live your life when you start adopting these principles, not just for healing purposes. We use this for everything. All day, we're tapping into the quantum energy field, and we're using it so that we can create the kind of life that we want to have. You have a lot more power, and a lot of people, they spend so much time on this 3D reality that we live in, putting energy into the things that you buy, putting energy into other people, but they forget about themselves. And you forget that you are a spiritual being. And when we're not putting attention to our spirituality and our connection with the energy, which again is all around us and is everything around us, you don't feel like yourself, your true self, your true authentic self. And that's what quantum touch does. It brings you back to who you really are and gives you a lot of power, because you realize, I can actually create. Remember, you come from the creator, therefore you too are a creator. And we're here to create. We're not here to be miserable. We're not here to be working 9 to 5 every day and kill ourselves and work multiple jobs. We're here to have an experience and to create a beautiful life, a magnificent life. And quantum touch gives you the tools to do just that.
At the end of the day, I always tell my students this: you are the producer, the director, and the star of your own movie. You decide how your movie will go. At the end of your life, you will sit down and watch the movie with somebody else. And you have to ask yourself this question: what kind of movie do I want my life to be? Right? But we're telling you that with the use of manipulation of energy, you can create anything in your life that you want to. So yes, usually people come and start the journey of quantum touch looking at it as a healing modality.
Which it is.
Which it is. But the beautiful thing about it is that we can use the same exact techniques to align ourselves with whatever version of us or you that you want to become. So this is very important. I don't want to make it too complicated, but in quantum physics, we are not trying to attract what we want. We are aligning with what is already out there. That is what is meant by getting into the quantum field or tapping into the quantum field, where every single version of you already exists. The happy you, the healthy you, the wealthy you, they're already there. So what we need to do, just like when somebody works on us for our health, we align to the life force energy. Well, we're aligning to life force energy to become what it is that is already out there, ready for us to embrace.
So you can use quantum touch and the awareness and your energy when you're having a difficult conversation, for example. You can use it when you're walking into a stressful situation. You can use it when you're worried about what's going to happen in your future. You can use it when you're working, when you're parenting, when you're traveling, making decisions, or simply having a difficult day. That's the package I'm waiting for. Instead of immediately reacting to everything around you, you begin to ask the question, what energy am I bringing into this situation? And that's a really powerful question. How does this create empowerment? Well, one of the biggest shifts is moving from there's nothing I can do to there is something that I can do.
Sorry about that.
And what is that something? Well, that something is quantum touch. That doesn't mean we can control everything that happens in our lives, because we can't. But we can learn to become more conscious of how we respond to things in our lives. Quantum touch gives you another resource. Instead of immediately going into fear or frustration or helplessness, or you can actually stop for a moment. You can start breathing. You can become present. You can connect with your energy, and then you can ask, what is possible here? How can I shift this energy into my favor?
Right.
And that's what quantum touch teaches us.
And so, I always also tell my students, don't be a ship out on the ocean without a rudder, allowing the currents of the ocean to take you wherever they want to take you. Use the rudder. Quantum touch is your rudder. It allows you to have control of your ship because you're creating a new reality for yourself every single day. Can you use it to facilitate or accelerate health for yourself and others? Absolutely, 100%. That's what quantum touch is. But if you take the course just for that, you're limiting yourself. The bigger picture is using quantum touch techniques to create your future.
Healing your life, healing your finances, helping to heal others, helping to heal plants, animals. We were talking about in one of the podcasts we did recently where we had a flat tire and the tire's not inflating, and we needed to get to the station in order to either repair or, in our case, replace the tire. And we ran quantum touch energy on that tire, and all of a sudden it started to inflate, and we were able to get to our destination so that we could have the tire replaced. So we use it for everything. We used it recently on Rick's phone. Rick's phone, we were outside in the rain, and his phone got wet and it stopped working. And he had information in that phone that I didn't have in my phone that we needed access to. So we both started sending energy to his phone. And lo and behold, it started to work again. And he was able to access everything he needed to access, download everything he needed to download. And the phone actually is still working now, which is crazy. We got a new phone and everything, and he still hasn't even used the new phone. So, if you understand that everything's energy, then you start playing with it. You become empowered. And that's the beauty of quantum touch. That's what makes it so valuable. It isn't
so much fun.
It is. It isn't simply something you just learn for a weekend and you do for yourself or to someone else. It becomes a resource that you carry with you all the time. And that changes how you navigate your relationships, your challenges, your health, your work, your future. It's I can't say enough great things about it. It is. It's a lot of fun.
That Rick and Paula, that was a much better introduction and elaboration of this portion of the webinar than I had planned. So thank you so much for that. And I wanted to just re-emphasize this extraordinary phenomenon. I've been in quantum touch long enough now that I've seen new students and a lot of new people come into quantum touch, and they, as Rick and Paula mentioned, they learn it as a technique. either to help themselves, or maybe they have a loved one who's going through a difficult time, has a physical condition, whatever it might be. They use it as a technique that they do a half-hour session, or a 15-minute session to run energy. But the phenomenon that consistently happens is that it becomes part of their daily lives. It becomes part of who they are. It becomes part of how they approach life. And recently, I've been interviewing members of the Quantum Touch community about their Quantum Touch stories. And every single interview, the person will say, I use Quantum Touch every single day. So on big things, on small things, on parking spots, on job interviews, whatever it might be, just as Rick and Paula explained. And one of the things that they mentioned was empowerment. And now, Rick and Paula, how would you say Quantum Touch changes the way you think about what is possible? A lot of people think, oh, this would never work out for me, or I couldn't possibly do that, or when I do this always happens to me, so how would you say that Quantum Touch lifestyle, life skill changes what people believe is actually possible?
Well, first of all, I would say this. Let's see what we can, let's see. How can I put this? How are things possible? You take it.
So basically, we have to kind of shift the way we're thinking. Our thoughts create our reality. And not only the thoughts that we think, but the words that we speak. So we need to be more mindful of what is possible instead of thinking that's not possible for me. Because anything is possible. It's all out there, as Rick was saying, it's all in the quantum energy field. There is that version of you, as he was saying, that is the healthy version of you. There is that person that can speak in front of people that have no issues whatsoever doing that. Each one of us has all of these different aspects of who we are. But when you say, oh, that won't happen for me, you're limiting yourself. But you are a person that can actually tap into a field and use that and empower yourself and strengthen yourself so that and then you start to see it visually coming to fruition. And you're like, oh my goodness, I actually do have power. And when you see it happening more and more, like with the example I gave with the phone, you see it happening more and more, and you're like, oh my goodness, I actually can do this. I'm actually really good at it, because you're an energy being. So it's natural that you're good at it. This is who we really are. So
one thing that happens all the time is the first day before lunch, we learn how to align bones, right? And so once we do that, people are so in awe and shocked that they were able to do that, that now the thought is not, oh, can I do quantum touch because they just did it? It's, what are the possibilities? If I can do this, what else can I do? Right? And so that's the shift that happens, and people start embracing the concept very early in the workshop, and that's when we see the biggest change, let's say.
That's an excellent point, Rick. People always want to experience it for themselves and see something happen. And I remember the first time I did what Rick and Paula are referring to is called spontaneous postural alignment. And so you send energy during the workshop to support the alignment of the hips. Everybody's hips are a little bit uneven, or sometimes a lot uneven, and the occipital ridge, so the bones at the base of the skull. And you can actually see in real time as the body moves itself back into alignment. And when I did that for the first time, it absolutely blew my mind. And that's a really great example of seeing what is possible that maybe you didn't think was possible before. And right. So now, Rick and Paula, I think it's time for everybody to have an experience of the energy. So I'll pass it over to you for our guided experience.
Okay. You want to do?
Well, no, you explain it.
Sure. So I'll introduce the technique. What we'd like to give today for your experience with quantum touch is a technique that we call the what you love most technique. And the idea is really, really simple. We all have something or someone that naturally brings love, gratitude, joy, appreciation into our hearts. And it could be a person, it could be a child, it could be a grandchild, it could be a pet, it could be nature, it could be a special memory, or even just watching the sunset. When you think about something that you genuinely love and you feel it in your heart, I want you to notice what happens inside your body. Your breathing may change, your face may soften, you might smile, you might even laugh. You may feel some warmth in your chest or in your heart. You might feel lighter. And in quantum touch, we use that feeling of love and appreciation as a way of becoming more present and more consciously connecting with that life force energy. And you don't have to force energy. This is not forcing anything. You don't have to visualize perfectly either. You simply connect with something that you genuinely love. So that's the preface of what the experience is. So you can
The idea, remember, is not to just think about the memory or the situation,
or the person,
but really be able to re-evoke the emotions that were tied to that situation when you were having it. So it really has to be a physiological shift. And that's what we're looking for. So don't just think about the memory, live it, relive it.
embody
Okay?
it.
Embody it. So find a comfortable position, relax. Okay. And if you're driving, please keep your eyes open and just simply listen. Okay. If you are in a comfortable position, this is a time when you can close your eyes and take a slow, comfortable breath. Breathe in and breathe out. Do it a few times, nice and comfortable. Breathe in and breathe out. Very good. Now bring your attention to your heart. Don't try to change anything. Just notice your breathing. Start relaxing. And as you do so, start thinking of an example of what you love most. It could be a person. It could be your child. It could be the birth of your child. It could be your grandchild or your partner or the day you married your partner or you met your partner. It could be your pet. It could be a place that you love. Maybe the ocean, a beautiful sunset, a special memory, or simply a moment in your life when you felt completely loved and at peace. Choose something that naturally makes your heart smile. Feel it inside of you. Feel that shift beginning to take place. Allow yourself to really experience the feeling. Don't just think about the person or the memory. Feel what happens inside you when you connect with it. Maybe you feel warmth. Maybe you feel a smile coming to your face. Maybe you feel something in your chest, a feeling of love that keeps building. Maybe you feel peaceful or emotional. Just allow whatever happens to happen naturally. Now take that feeling of love and appreciation and breathe into it. As you breathe in, imagine that feeling becoming stronger and stronger. And as you breathe out, allow that feeling to expand through your whole body. Breathe in love and and breathe out. And allow that love to move through you. Now bring your awareness to your hands. Notice your hands. Perhaps they feel warm. Perhaps you feel tingling. Perhaps you feel pulsing. Perhaps you feel completely normal. There is no right or wrong experience. Now gently rub your hands together. Feel that warmth between your palms. And then slowly separate them. Hold your hands a few inches apart and simply notice what you feel between your hands. Perhaps warmth, perhaps tingling, perhaps pressure, perhaps a magnetic sensation. Just stay curious. Continue to breathe comfortably. Bring that feeling of love back to your heart. And think again about what you love most. Imagine that love flowing from your heart, through your arms, into your hands. You're not forcing anything. You're simply allowing yourself to experience the energy of love, appreciation, and connection. Now imagine taking that feeling with you beyond that moment. Imagine bringing it into your relationships, into your work, into your family, into any challenges that you may be facing, into your future. What would happen if you approached your life from this state more often? Take one more beautiful, comfortable breath in and slowly breathe out. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes and notice yourself. Notice your breathing. Notice your body. Notice your hands. And notice what feels different.
So what you've just experienced is a very simple introduction to something we explore much more deeply when we are teaching quantum touch. You used your breath, you used awareness, your intention, and a feeling of love to change your state. And that's a beautiful thing. And you can do this anywhere, at any time. You don't need a treatment table. You don't need any special equipment. You don't need another person. You can use what you've learned to become more centered and more present in your life. And in level 1, we take these principles much further than what Rick just did. We teach you how to consciously work with this life force energy that we all have access to, how to develop your sensitivity to it, and how to practice directing the energy for yourself and for others. So you don't just take our word for it, you experience it. And that's what this is all about, because quantum touch is something you understand on a completely different level when you actually feel it for yourself. So what you experienced was very simple. We didn't teach the entire quantum touch technique in a few minutes, but we wanted you to experience something rather than simply hear us just talk about it. And that's really the best way to understand quantum touch. It's to experience it. We could talk about, like Renee was saying, we could talk about energy all day long. But when you actually begin to feel something in your own body, the conversation becomes very different. So let me ask you, audience, what did you notice? And you can answer in the chat what you noticed when you did that.
Wonderful. I noticed also that, thank you so much, Rick and Paula, that Wilma has her hand up. So Wilma, I will ask you to unmute, and if you wanted to share your experience, or if you have a question about the meditation, then you can go ahead and share.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Wilma,
Oh,
we can.
wonderful. I apologize, my camera is not functioning. Um, I have a crazy question, and it has to do with life force energy. And I clearly believe now I've been efforting it because I'm familiar with doing what you're thinking. I love sunsets, and my daughter, and I it can bring into those feelings. But first, I always think that I have to do where you connect to the earth and connect to the sky and blah 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 blah. If I'm understanding you correctly, if I'm going to be doing quantum touch, I'm not even doing the efforting part of which seems to be scrambling. I'm feeling a lot of scrambling energy right now. So if I'm simply feeling into my heart and whatever is bringing me joy and pleasure, and then once I'm breathing that in and then expanding that feeling through my physical body, I am then accessing my own life force energy as opposed to having to pull it from somewhere else. That's why I raised my hand.
Absolutely, 100%. You're absolutely right. You can, if you want, ritualize it. People do, and there's nothing wrong with that. And you do your grounding work and maybe a prayer. You can do that, absolutely. But at the end of the day, it's energy, and energy is energy. It's ubiquitous, and we can tap into it immediately at any point in time without having to go into the actual ritual of bringing it in. It's already there. Everything is already there. That's why we say we're not trying to attract what we want. We're just tapping into or aligning with what is already out there. So by using the techniques, immediately we can tap into life force energy and use it in whatever which way you want to.
And the what you love most technique is one of the techniques. And like we said earlier, we lightly went into that. We go into it more in more detail when we do the actual workshop itself. So you're absolutely right, Wilma. You're tapping into your own life force energy. We always have a tendency to look outward instead of looking inward. When we look inward, all the answers are already there. So quantum touch teaches you how to tap into your own inner healer, your own innate ability to heal physically, emotionally, mentally, as well as spiritually. And you're feeding and speaking the language of who you really are, which is energy. You're an energy being. So you're learning more about who you really are, what you're really capable of. And it goes well beyond what we've ever been taught in school. We haven't been taught who we really are. We've been limited. So with quantum touch, there is no limitation. This is you expanding into and expressing the best Wilma version that Wilma can be in this lifetime, and everyone else for that matter.
Also think about life force energy. I've heard people coin this term as juice, the extra juice, right? So when we amplify that juice in our body and we can send it out and allow this juice to perform all the things that we want it to do, it's at our fingertips all the time. 100%. We are not evoking it from different areas or
There is
different
no
places.
no effort.
We're in it. So all we have to do is garner it, manipulate it, amplify it, and direct it. And that's it. I hope that answers your question.
Beautiful. That was a phenomenal question, Wilma, and very well expressed. And I think it really speaks to the heart of quantum touch that we're not we don't have to effort and pull it from somewhere else. We use different techniques, the breathing, the body awareness, and then other techniques such as the what you love most that Rick and Paula led us through to amplify that life force energy that is already within us. You can release that sense of having to do work or efforting. And so thank you so much for your question, Wilma. I see that there's some really beautiful comments in the chat. I'm not sure if you can see the chat, Rick and Paula. So Lena says, I reach love very easily. Heather, I experience peacefulness. T.S. Wong, like holding a ball between my hands. Yes, calmness. A wonderful comment from Stephen. I noticed a magnetic pressure in my heart, palms, and midbrain. Felt an amplified sensitivity to my heart's pulse. Oh, wow, amazing. When my heart began opening, my neck and head shaking side to side. Is shaking and jolting a welcome side effect of energy work for a healer? Or should the healer focus on letting go and letting the energy flow with no resistance to mitigate shaking? There's
That
a
is
fine line
correct.
between
Just
intention
let it
and
go.
pleasure. Yeah,
Let it
exactly.
flow. Let it flow.
Everybody's different.
Yeah.
So wonderful. It's a beautiful experience. And so what happens when we change our state like that, as Rick and Paula explained, is that it allows the body to cultivate, to build that life force energy to use for healing, either for ourselves, well, actually always for ourselves first, and then for the person if we're working on another person. So thank you, Rick and Paula, for that beautiful experience. And now we will take questions, as the time just flies by in these webinars. It always blows my mind. We will take questions from the audience, so feel free to type them in the chat. I see there's already one from Lena, and as people are typing, I'll just share with you the details of Rick and Paula's upcoming workshop. They will be teaching Quantum Touch Level 1 in September. For anybody who feels that call to explore this a little bit more, to get that life skill into their toolbox of skills. And there's no prerequisite. Anybody can take this workshop and learn the skills quite easily. So the details are, it's September 19th and 20th from 9:30 to 5:30 Eastern, and it's a virtual workshop, so it takes place online. You can join from anywhere in the world, and it is posted on the Quantum Touch website under the workshops tab. If you would like the direct link, just reply to any of the webinar emails, and I will personally send you the link to register for the workshop. So it's September 19th and 20th from 9:30 to 5:30, and everything that you learned about today, you will learn in that 2-day workshop. It's really extraordinary. With the skills that you learn in those 2 days, you'll be able to do everything that Rick and Paula spoke about.
Yes.
So we'll start with the questions. So if you have questions, then type them in the chat. You can also raise your hand, just like Wilma did, if you'd rather speak your question out loud. And the first question that we have is from Lena. And Lena says, I'm the one who needs healing first. So can I use this for self-healing?
100%. You know, it's funny. It's a great question. And Nina, just so you know, as a practitioner, when you're doing quantum touch, you're receiving a healing as you're working on someone at the same time. That life force energy is running through you. But yes, you can absolutely work on yourself. And that is one of the things that we talk about and we emphasize in the workshop, that you need to work on yourself, whether it be a physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual, or all of the above. You absolutely have all the tools you need using quantum touch in your life so that you can create the best version of Nina that you can be.
Yeah, very good.
Wonderful. We have an earlier question that I missed in the chat, also from Wilma. And Wilma asks, Paula, how would I use the process you just mentioned for something physical, hereditary varicose veins?
I had somebody recently that I was working on with varicose veins, and it's a circulation issue. So when you're running energy, you're actually increasing your circulation, and you're doing the different breath work techniques, which is exactly what your body needs in order for those varicose veins to start diminishing and going away. But it's all a matter of practice and doing the breath work and doing the different techniques
And the visualization.
and visualization, exactly. Seeing your legs perfect and your veins perfect and no longer having this ailment. So again, these are all techniques that we talk about, and that's a very common one. And it's very effective. I've had people telling me, I'm not seeing them anymore. They popped out of nowhere and they left just as quickly.
That's amazing. We have a question from Sarah in the chat. How do you use quantum touch on emotional issues?
So when we deal a lot with emotional issues, and that's we dedicate a very large portion of the curriculum to emotional healing, and we have all sorts of different emotional issues that come up, and you just really never know. A lot of people sometimes don't even realize they need emotional healing, and when you're working on someone or someone is working on you, we have a tendency to tuck away energy into different places in the body. And as we're raising that high vibration, if that's what your body needs, is to release that emotional issue or concern and release it and let it go, as we're raising that high vibration, your body entrains to a higher vibration. And it starts to clear out old stagnant energy that your body no longer requires. And if that's something that is coming up to the surface during a session, sometimes people will cry, they'll have an emotional release, and they feel so much better, so much lighter. They feel the energy surging through their body, and they feel the difference. And it just, during a weekend, people are like, how can all of this possibly happen in just 2 days? It's extraordinary what happens in 2 days, how their faces change, how the smile on their face comes back, how the twinkle in their eye comes back, how their skin starts to tighten. I mean, there's just so many things that happen, and everyone notices it. They're like, wow, your energy really shifted. So emotional healing is absolutely a very important part of quantum touch, and we experience it in every single workshop.
I do want to add something to this. You know, there are over 25,000 human conditions out there that are known. It's not like we have different techniques for all these human conditions. It's a lot easier than that. There are techniques that level 1 teaches that cover everything, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. So I don't want you to think, okay, so for emotional conditions or mental conditions, we do one thing. For physical, we do another thing. They're all the same. And the beauty of it is that since energy is universal, it acts the same way on all of us. And so it does whatever needs to be done. However, your body takes that energy and utilizes it is for your highest and greatest good. And so, you know, I don't want you to think that you're going to come to the workshop and learn, you know, 80 different techniques, because there aren't that many and it would be too complicated, right? You're going to have a set number of techniques that cover the whole span of the healing realm, or the healing conditions.
Wonderful. Thank you, Rick and Paula. And next we have a question in the chat from Audrey, who asks, how does quantum touch differ from Reiki?
Well, we're both Reiki masters, just so you know. We use quantum touch strictly now. We used to teach both Reiki as well as quantum touch, and quantum touch has far surpassed Reiki. And Reiki was our first modality. So with Reiki, you're using symbols and you're still using life force energy. But I find that with quantum touch, there's a lot more flexibility. There's a lot more creativity that goes on with quantum touch. Quantum touch helps you to take that energy, and you can use a strong energy. You can pull back your energy. It's much more playful, and it's so fast. We've had emergency situations that we've used quantum touch with, that we've seen things happen that were just mind-blowing. And I know there's a video out there of me where I talk about my brother in the emergency room going through brain surgery and how they couldn't get his brain pressure to go down. They tried all these different medications, nothing's working, and we can't get the pressure to go down. And Rick and I were doing quantum touch, and we were able to get the pressure to where it was back into normal range, and they couldn't do that in the hospital. We were able to facilitate that.
More than anything, you're able to manipulate the energy a lot more than you would be in Reiki.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but it uses life force energy. But we find that quantum touch is Reiki on steroids.
That was a great question. I think it was Audrey who asked that, and the perfect people to ask actually are Rick and Paula. Another question we have in the chat is from Vicky, and Vicky asks, in the workshop, do you practice with others virtually?
I'm sorry, can you repeat it? I didn't catch it.
The question is, in the workshop, do you practice with others virtually?
Oh, 100%. You have to. We partner up with other people, and you're working on them and they're working on you. So we're teaching the modality, and we're doing it in steps. You can't learn everything at once. So as we learn something, we then practice it.
And we break out into different rooms.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you get, if there's 20 participants in the workshop, you know, when we do the exercises, we break in pairs, mm-hmm. and we break them into different rooms. So they practice among themselves. And Paula or myself, we're always looking in to see how you're doing, what you're doing, how to improve it, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. We're always observing. We want to make sure that you know how to do all the different techniques, and we want you to be comfortable, and we don't want to leave you alone and you go, I'm not really sure what I'm doing. We want you to feel comfortable and feel secure in everything that you do. And of course, we're always answering questions, and we're always assisting you as well. And there's two of us.
And that's why we limit the workshop at 20 people, so that we can give that special attention to everybody.
Wonderful. That's a great question, great answer. And I have posted the link, the registration link for the workshop in the chat for anybody who is feeling the call to take the workshop. And we'll take one last question in the chat from Ronnie, which is this modality in any way related to Jinshin Jitsu? So I'm not familiar with that. But
I'm not familiar with that either. I couldn't say.
But there are many modalities and practices that use life force energy in different ways. Paula, did you have something you wanted to add?
I was just going to say, one of the things that Richard talks about, and we also talk about, it doesn't matter if you want to, if that's something that you've learned and you want to have quantum touch as an adjunct to that, we welcome that. This becomes your art. This becomes your energy modality. You're learning the basics of quantum touch, and you are becoming more in tune to who you are, more in tune to that life force energy, and it starts to take on a life of its own. And, you know, where my sessions were when I first began and where my sessions are now are completely different, because the energy is flowing in and through me, and I'm just welcoming it with everything that I have. And my sessions are just mind-blowing for me and mind-blowing for my clients too. And it's so beautiful. And I love it so much. And it's not just something that we practice in our practice, but in our daily lives and everything that we do. It's a way of being. It's a way of life. It's not just, and that's, you know, getting back to the Reiki question, that's just an energy healing modality. Quantum touch is an energy healing modality, but it's way more than that.
You know, you learn to live in the sweet spot. We always say, okay, we're in the sweet spot.
Mm-hmm.
What is the sweet spot? It's when the red carpet gets rolled out in front of you, where synchronicities happen, where the magic happens. You're always in the sweet spot when you're doing quantum touch for your life or for your health, whatever. So yes, it's a really fun modality, and it will change your life. And I hope you will join us.
And it starts out as a technique. It then becomes a skill. It then becomes something that you naturally use every day. And eventually it becomes a way of being. So I ask you, what might change in your life if you had a skill available to you every single day, anywhere you are, at any point in time? That's what this is. Doesn't matter what the circumstance, doesn't matter what the situation is. You have access to quantum touch anywhere, anytime. And that is the beauty of this modality. So we have, as Rick was saying, we've got 20 spaces available for this particular workshop. And it is from 9:30 to 5:30 on Saturday and Sunday on the 19th and the 20th of September. It will change your life. It is a life-changing weekend. And I'm not kidding. Everybody says, this changed my life. Now I understand why I'm here on this planet. Now I understand how I need to move forward. Now I understand that I'm connected to everything. And now I understand how to connect to that. I now understand how I can actually tap into that quantum energy field and create my life instead of letting my life swing me from one side to the other. You can actually be present in every aspect of your life. Can't say enough great things about it.
Amen
It
to
gave
that.
me and Rick our lives back. So we're giving back to Quantum Touch, and we give back to our students, and we give you everything we've got. We don't hold back.
Amen.
Beautiful. Thank you, Rick and Paula. And on that note, I think it's time to close up our webinar today. Thank you, Rick and Paula, for your presence, for your expertise, for your passion, for sharing your experience with Quantum Touch with everybody today. And as I mentioned, if you feel called to learn this technique, which you will experience very quickly, will become a life skill and a way of living, then I encourage you to take the level 1 workshop with Rick and Paula in September. And Rick and Paula, do you have any closing comments before we sign off?
Just want to thank everybody for taking the time and being here with us today. I hope we answered your questions. I hope we enlightened you in a small way as to the possibilities of quantum touch. We live this modality every single day. We live in the sweet spot, and we want you to live in the sweet spot as well.
Beautiful. Well said, Rick. Oh, Heather says she just signed up. Can't wait. Wonderful. Oh, congratulations. Oh, Heather.
Looking forward to it, Heather.
Love it. And I'm a testament to the fact that it's life-changing, and it just, it starts as a technique and it becomes something that just glows inside of you, a way of living, a lifestyle. And I encourage you all to learn it, to experience it for yourselves. And thank you, everyone. I see lots of beautiful comments in the chat. Thank you, everyone, for your presence. Sherry, there is no senior discount, but it is very, very affordable for the value that you get. And I think Lena asked the time zone. It's Eastern time. So 9:30 to 5:30 Eastern time. And yes, Margaret says she's completed the Quantum Touch training in the past. So if you have taken the level 1, the certificate level 1 course in the past, then you get the repeat discount, which is at 50%. That's wonderful. I encourage you to take it. And excellent. Thank you, everyone, so much for your presence here today. It has been a real treat to be your host, your hostess in today's webinar. Thank you again to Rick and Paula. Thank you for your presence, and I look forward to seeing you at the next webinar. And I invite you all to take the level 1 workshop. Have a phenomenal day, and I will see you again soon. Thank you, Rick and Paula.
Thank you much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.